So in this video, I want to show you how to prepare a lease listing agreement. So first, what we want to do is we're going to go to dot loop, and we need to create a new loop. Since you're going to be listing this property, you should know the property address. So since we do, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and name it the property address. So you don't have to go back and do that later. And of course, some different things come up here. I'm going to go ahead and click on that first one because it is in Magnolia. Don't worry about this where it says select template. Just go ahead and hit create loop. And first couple of things you want to do is you're going to select the transaction type. So it's going to be a listing for lease. Select loop status. It's going to be a pre-listing. And then we want to come down here and add your people. So the only people you need to add are your actual clients and maybe the other agent when there is another agent. But for now, I'm going to add my actual clients. So in order to do so, we do need to know who the landlords are. And if you're going to be listing a property, it may or may not have been on the MLS before. The best way to do it is just go to Public Records, Realist Tax Search. Okay, so now that that pulled up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the search bar right here, 226 North Berkshire Circle, hit search, and there you go, there's my tax record right there. So this tells me who the seller is or who the landlord would be. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and assign him as my person. So add a person, and it's Darren Reeser. For this purpose, I'm just going to make up an email. So I'll put at Gmail. And then you're going to make him the landlord right here. And hit, you can continue filling in more of this information, but you don't necessarily have to. So I'm going to hit add person. And there you go. So there he is. And now with the address being there, the person being there, when I add my documents, it should automatically autofill his name and the address in there. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to go over here and I'm going to hit the three little dots. And I'm going to hit rename. And I want this to be renamed my listing folder. Because what's going to happen is with a listing, you're going to have a listing folder and you're going to have a contract folder. So now I'm going to hit add documents from templates. That's going to allow me to get my my actual contracts over here, and it's going to be not a tenant leasing, it's going to be a lease listing. And to know which forms I need to look at my compliance checklist, which is this document right here. And it is going to be, we're looking for the lease listing, which is right here. So I need a IABS, the MLS agent copy. This is after you put it on MLS. You're going to need to upload the MLS sheet to your dot loop. And then I need the residential real estate listing agreement for exclusive right to lease. And then I also need the KW special lease listing addendum. If you see it says KW over here, it's going to be in the KWWD forms, which is right here. So off of that, I know I need this IABS, I need the listing agreement, and then I need the lease listing addendum. So if I just type in lease, there it is right there, and hit add documents. Okay, so now that we have this, now I can go ahead and start filling them out. If you hit the button right here and it checks all of them and hit open, it will actually open all three of those documents and you don't have to, it just saves you some time. So first, I'm going to put the landlord's already his name. The listing agent, I'm going to make myself. The property address is already in here. You can also fill in the rent amount, security deposit, just some extra stuff to autofill. So if I know the rent on this, let's say it's going to be $3,500. Security deposit also $3,500. We'll put the listing date as next Monday, and let's say a 6-month agreement. I usually always try to do at least 6 months. And then hit autofill. So it automatically autofills some of this information. So here it puts in my name as the listing agent, then I need to put my license number. So I'm gonna, this would be on your hard card. Just put in a fake license number for me. Then it has DR right here, which is for the landlord. It also says landlord here, which means when you send this to them through dotloop, I think it would allow him to sign either one. So what I want you to do is click on that and go up here and hit no one, just so there's no confusion whenever he goes to sign it. And then go ahead and date it. This tends to get missed a lot, and we just want to make sure that's dated. Then you have the special lease listing addendum, which is basically just saying that the landlord is the one responsible for checking the tenant's creditworthiness and running all background checks. It's not something that we, as Keller Williams, do. So what you can do is you can refer your landlord to create a free account on mysmartmove.com, and that system will run any potential tenant's credit and background check, and it's free to the landlord. The tenant can actually pay the fee to have that done through MySmartMove. And go ahead and date this. Then of course you see that it says landlord no one. For some reason that didn't autofill, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit go up here and assign to and put Darren. You also need to make sure you put his printed name. Also, when you put somebody in as a person into dotloop, and if they're not in your database, they will automatically be put in your EDGE database. And then the broker is going to be, I'm going to sign that there, and then I'm going to put my name here. And so if it's orange, that means I can sign. So if I hit sign now, that's my signature. I'm going to hit adopt and sign. There we go. Okay, so here's the lease listing. Got the address up here. We've got his name here. We can go ahead and put his current address in here if he's not living at that house. So just for example, just make something up. We'll put 555 Main Street. And then put his phone number. And then his email, of course. And you have Keller Williams Realty The Woodlands as your broker. You can also put my name under it, so that way I'm saying I'm representing Keller Williams. Make sure you put our address, 1401 Woodlands Parkway. The Woodlands, Texas, 77380. And then here you need to get the lot, block, and legal description. So if you go back up to Realist, this is where you're going to find it. And if I scroll down, it is right here. So the lot is 19, block 2. I also always center this right here whenever the numbers are real small. So lot 19, block 2. Let's see. Woodlands Village, Sternly Ridge, 91. So I'm going to copy that. Go back over to dotloop. It's not going to fit right here, but it will fit on this next line. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that. City of Magnolia, right there. And then it is in Montgomery County. I can take that county out. And then it says known as North Furshire Circle, 77384. So that's correct. So if they are going to be renting anything along with the property, such as refrigerator, washer, dryer, any of those other non-real estate items, you would want to list those here. If they are excluding anything from the lease, like they're going to be removing it prior to actually leasing it, you would want to put this here. Then you have at monthly rental of $3,500 is the listing price. And then the lease term is not less than, you could put 6 to 12 months, just depending on what they want. I'm going to do 12 months and not more than 24. You could get somebody who has a really long-term lease, but at the same time, if they rent for, let's say, 5 years, the landlord can't raise the rent for 5 years, and that wouldn't be beneficial to them. So I'm going to go ahead and sign this for myself. I do have the landlord signature here for this one. Since it says landlord, I'm going to go over here and hit no one. I got the listing begins and ends. Right here, broker compensation. This is really important. You want to make sure you put 100% here, because you have to be able to pay the other agent. So they're going to pay you 100% on 1 full month's rent once you've rented it out. Other compensation, this would be if those tenants ended up renewing their lease. Would you get paid again? So it really depends on what you negotiate. Sometimes you might be able to negotiate it. Sometimes the landlord's going to say no, because if those tenants are just renewing their lease, there's really no reason for them to pay you again. So you can put in here 100%, so that way you and the other broker get paid again. But if they say no, then take that out. Same thing with if those people were to purchase the home, you would want to put 6%. So if those tenants end up buying the home, you would get 3% and the other broker would get 3%. So it says if landlord agrees to sell the property by written oral agreement or option before blank days after the end of the lease of the rental property. So I would say before 60 days before that lease agreement is going to end, they've agreed to sell the property to them. Well, then you would get 3%, the other broker would get 3%, making that 6%. Again, that's negotiable. They may say no to that as well, but you never know unless you ask for it. Okay, moving on down, reimbursable expenses. This would be anything that, like, let's say they asked you to maintain the yard or maybe maintain the cleanliness of the house while it's on the market, waiting to be rented. If you did anything such as that and you needed to be reimbursed for that money that you spent, you would put that here. Otherwise, just put NA. The protection period, that means I'm going to put anywhere between 30 to 60 days in here. I'll go ahead and put 60. It says no later than 10 days after this listing ends, broker will send landlord a list of all the people who saw the property. And if for some reason that landlord and that tenant go back and agree to rent that property without the assistance of the realtors, then technically you're still owed that commission. So this is more in there whenever somebody had tried to cut the realtors out of the deal and save money. All amounts paid are in Montgomery County, because that's where our Keller Williams is located at. The listing service, this is going to be dependent on how quickly can you get into the MLS. So after you take this listing agreement, are you going to get it into the MLS within 5 days? If so, check this one. If you need a few more days, check B, which means, let's say you're going to have it in the MLS within 10 days because you need to get, current owner needs to move out. And professional photography needs to be done. It really could be for several different reasons. I would say the photography is going to be one of the big reasons, quite a bit. It could be for staging, or it just could be for a numerous amount of reasons. But just make sure that if you do not intend on having it in the MLS within 5 days, you check box B. And then go ahead and sign this. And then scheduling companies, you pay for centralized showing service as part of your office bills here at the Woodlands office. So you need to put that here. And then that will allow you to have centralized showing set up the appointments, or agents to make appointments with them to view the home. Okay, and then right here, is the broker authorized to place a key box on the property? Yes, you do want that to be there so you don't have to go open the door every time there is a showing. And then moving on down, MLS participants, this is how much are you going to pay the other broker. If the other broker represents a tenant, you're going to pay them 50%. However, if they are a subagent, you are going to pay them 0%. That means they don't actually have an agreement with that tenant, and they are representing the seller or the landlord and not the client. Okay, non-MLS brokers, pay them 50%. And if they're a subagent, it's going to be 0%. And then I'm going to initial and check the box for intermediary status. And then Down here again, check the box for, initial for your signature. Only check these if if the landlord does not want the property on the internet, which is very, very rare. So most of the time that's never checked. Okay, moving on down to here, make ready. So normally you always check this box right here. A broker may not arrange for contractors to make any repairs or alterations on the property. You really want the landlord to take care of that stuff himself, and you not get involved in it. Go ahead and hit sign now. And then paragraph 12, these are really important that you ask the landlord, make sure they're currently paying on all their loans, they're not delinquent on anything, they don't have any liens or encumbrances against the property. They're ask and see if there's any fees for any extra amenities like the pool, tennis courts, anything like that that are attached to that property. And then also, is there anything materially affecting the health or safety of that property? So if there's not anything to put there, put none per landlord. All right. Okay, moving on down. Do not put anything in special provisions unless there's something to actually put there, such as you're representing a family member or something along those lines. Here, you need to check box I and put KW Lease Listing Addendum. And it's not on that contracts checklist, but if the property was built before 1978 or before, make sure you also check this addendum regarding lead-based paint because you will need that as well. Okay, so then this is with a section where you really need to start asking the landlord these questions. And this is going to help you fill out the lease later. So when is the monthly rent due? Typically due the first day of the month, so that's what I'm going to check here. What are the late charges going to be and when do they occur? So we're going to say they're going to occur on the third day after the third day. So basically by 11:59 on the third day, it's considered late. And the initial late charge, I'm going to put $50. And additional late charge per day, put $10. Again, if they want to change that, they can. They need to tell you are pets permitted or not permitted, and permitted with the following restrictions. For this purpose, I'm going to put permitted at, let's say at most 2 under 25 pounds each. When you go to list a property on the MLS for rent, it's more likely that you'll be more successful getting it rented if you put pets on a case-by-case basis rather than no pets allowed. But if the landlord is just adamant that they do not want pets, then put no pets. If pets are permitted, then we have to ask, okay, well, how much is the pet deposit? So put $500 for the pet deposit as an addition to the security deposit. And is the monthly rent increased at all? If not, just leave that blank. One-time non-refundable payment of blank. If the pet deposit is non-refundable, you'd put that here. Pet violation. So an initial charge of, let's say $500. If for some reason they said, hey, I'm not going to have a pet, and then they went and got one and didn't tell the landlord, well, we're going to charge them $500 for that. And then we'll say $10 per day thereafter until they pay this and get the pet deposit cleared up. So a security deposit is going to be $3,500. That's usually the same amount as 1 month's rent. The utilities, it says all utilities to be paid for by tenant except, this would be if the landlord is paying any of the utilities. Guests, number of guests permitted on the property, number of days guests are permitted, we'll put 21 days. Vehicles, number of vehicles permitted on the property, we'll put 3. Trip charge, this would be if, I'm going to put $65 there. This would be if the tenant said, hey, something's broken and it needs to be fixed, and the landlord or a service guy came out to the house to fix it, they couldn't get in the house. Well, then that landlord's going to charge them $65 just for making the trip out there and not being able to actually do anything. The key box is going to be authorized during the last 30 days. And early withdrawal fee is going to be 1 month's rent, because if the tenant doesn't want to allow them to put a key box on the last 30 days to start showing that property, then they're going to have to pay $3,500 to basically have that the last month in their house without any interruptions. Inventory and condition form, we're going to say it's going to be delivered back within 7 days. The yard to be maintained by landlord, tenant, or a contractor at the tenant, paid by tenant. It really depends on the landlord what they want to do. If they're going to pay for somebody to maintain the yard, or if they're going to ask the tenant to. So I'm going to put tenant here. If there's a pool or spa, you need to check this, who's going to maintain it. If there's not one, just leave it blank. Repairs, emergency phone number for repairs. If it's a landlord, put their number, unless they have like a property management company handling it, and then you put their number. Appliances or items that will not be repaired. Sometimes they'll say like, well, we're not going to repair the refrigerator, washer, or dryer if it breaks. So it just really varies if there's from landlord to landlord what they want to put here. If there's anything that needs to go in special provisions of the lease, put that here. If not, just leave it blank. Subletting, we don't allow subletting, so just leave this blank. And on P, if there's anything extra that needs to go in the lease that wasn't already addressed, you would address that here. So hit sign now. And then right here, this has got my license number, but it needs to be Keller Williams license number, which is 467749. I'm going to sign this, check on broker associate signature. His name is here, and then again, I'm going to, instead of landlord, I'm going to take that out and hit no one. Then there's no printed name there, and that's it. So I'm going to save that. And hit my back button. It says, do you want to share? No, I don't. Not yet. And then, but now I can share all three at one time, and I'm going to hit share. It says, it says 1 of 14 fields completed, but it should just say can sign 14 fields. I got to find out why it says that. Let me go back through them real quick and see where that mistake is. Okay, so I've signed everywhere I need to sign, and it looks like everything is ready for him to sign. So I'm not really sure where that glitch is. I'm going to try to hit and share again. Okay, well, so what we're going to go ahead and do is, because it all looks right, I'm going to hit attach PDF to email. You can type him a little custom message here. This says can sign. It's going to him. And then you just hit share. And once you hit share, it will say waiting on others here in yellow, meaning it's waiting for him to sign. And then after he signed it, it will change and it'll say signed. So at that point, after you've got your document signed, you need to get a professional photographer to take the photos and then input it into the MLS, and then you officially have your lease listing. So if you have any questions on that, let me know and I'll be happy to help you.